Alrighty. So this is the second version of the one from yesterday. There's a dungeon in my end rooms. You're given a 2D array, move time, n by n size. Move times at I and j represents the minimum time in seconds when you can start moving. Again, it's very similar to yesterday, but the difference I think is moving between adjacent rooms takes 1 second for one move and 2 seconds for next, alternating. Previously it was always just 1 second between moves, and so you're supposed to find the time it takes to get to the very last room in the bottom right corner. So I copied and pasted the solution I had from yesterday, and I think I just need to modify it in some ways to make for this alternation deal. I think it just needs to be I think it's all kind of valid, except you just need to know whether or not you're on an odd or even room. So if you think of the rooms as like kind of think of the rooms as black and white. No, sorry, as a chessboard. Certain diagonals are all black, or certain diagonals are white, but they also correspond to whether or not the next move is going to be 1 second or 2 seconds. Like if let's say the top right, the 0, 0 spot is white on the chessboard, then moving from any white spot will go to a black spot and cost 1 second, and moving from any black spot will go to a white spot that costs 2 seconds. So I think if you just look at the parity, even oddness of the row and column, you should be able to determine whether or not it costs you 1 second or 2 seconds. So I think here the next time is rather than like have another value in the tuple for parity. So I think here, if the row plus the column, if the sum of them is even, I'll say that is then the cost for the next move is going to be 1, else is going to be 2. I think maybe I can, there's a formula here. The cost is equal to the row plus column mod to the remainder of it plus 1, because then if the remainder is 0, then you're dealing with a kind of an even a white spot. Yeah, I think that might work. Yeah. Okay. So I think maybe I should explain that slightly more. So if you have, let's say, if you have like a board where, again, this is row 0, column 0, row 0, column 1, row 0, column 2, row 0, column 3. If you think about moving from the cost of movement, it's always going to be 1 when you're dealing with one of the O spots, and it's always going to move cost 2 when you're dealing with one of the odd spots. So So if I think about the remainder of the sum of the row and column here, or the remainder of some row and column here, they're always going to be a remainder of 0, and these will always have remainder 1, which is 1 less than actually the cost of the movement to the next spot. So that's this thing here, the remainder, which kind of determines the parity. Parity of row slash column, it corresponds to the cost, offset by 1 to get actual costs. It's always 1 less. You sometimes see this relationship play out in other ways as well, so it's something useful to keep in mind. Otherwise, it's the exact same operation as before. So this is the same algorithm or same kind of solution as the previous version, with the slight change in calculating the incremental time cost. Rather than a fixed one, it depends on the position of depends on the current position. Can be modeled, can be simplified to a parity calculation, parity being odd even calculation, using row plus column. So this is the only difference, is like this cost variable, which again is calculated most simply. You can also do an if. The other versions would be like if you have a tuple where there's a third variable in the tuple where third variable is evenness, or like 1 or 0, or 1 or 2, or depending on what, and then just kind of switching it off and on. Time complexity, this is the same as before. This is going to be O of n times m, where where grid is n by m dimensions. And oops. I think it was O of n m log mn. Since you need to go through each spot and also to maintain heap, and this is also the same thing as O of nm, as max size of heap it's not going to contain all the elements, but roughly all elements. Okay. Cool beans. This is nice.